I believe I am live. Hello, everyone. This is Kanica's World. Um, this is another Wednesday. You're chiming in with me, and I'm just going to get started with my title. And but since I've been on this platform, my title is Student Engagement After Membership, and we'll still keep that title going because I just think it's an important, it's a very important topic to talk about. Today is the last day um, for Women's History Month. I believe we have until the 31st. But this is my last week to be able to discuss Women's History Month. And I know around the globe, the topic of women in leadership has been coming up. So I just wanted to talk about the women's suffrage. And I believe we have an amendment that is in place. And the women, first, the 19th Amendment, and the 19th Amendment is one of the amendments that women had gained the right to be able to vote. And I want to make sure I get it right because I don't want to be wrong when I'm talking about something that's very important about women's suffrage. And the women's suffrage began the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution granted American women the right to vote. So I am right with that right to vote. But I also wanted to talk about the ratification of the amendment, and that was in August 18th of 1922. But I want to also add in 1848 the movement for women's right that launched and Seneca Falls Convention. And I wanted to speak about the convention part. So when people or groups come together and how they organize about the way that they feel and where do they take it into a place in a room and why are they having this discussion. I want to separate our women, Black women, and our white women because I believe it's very important if we don't talk about it. And the leadership. I know for in some homes that is married couples, Black couples, for my Black heritage of growing up, is that is either you leading, you letting allow the man to lead, or you or the Black woman want a right to have her say or to have something that she wants to have ownership is of. I talk about that because right now this women in leadership topic is really floating around here when if we stick to where we were and don't take anything and continuously try to move and try to fit things into spaces, we won't have a problem. If we just allow the women to just to have that role in their spaces, then I don't believe we will have a problem. If you got two people who have a good energy and a good chemistry to work with each other, and as a man and a woman, why not just let them have that chemistry and be able to allow them to work because it is a building block and allow those things to happen in that space. It doesn't mean that it has to be sexual. It doesn't mean it has to be a relationship. It just means they just have that kind of chemistry to work in that space. I think we forget that we're not all born under the same stars. We're not one person per se. Because if we were, then it will be no different. We will not have no creativity. We will not have nothing different about us. So when we talk about women in leadership, just let the women have what it is they need. I talk about the Black women that's in a leadership position and talk about white women that's in a leadership position and talk about the women's suffrage. I don't believe it's that hard to explain. So we'll say this. that white men have came when white men were wanting to be in this place of America and the British and how that came into play. Wanting to have that space of their own. What it is they needed from the kings over in Britain and bringing it back to America to be able to stand on their own and build things around. A lot of things happen. If you talk about down Pennsylvania and you talk about Baltimore, what happened? White men and rose politicians in places where it is they wanted to build and be strong. If we discuss our black women, we think about their leadership roles and what they were building and what the men of any troop, I would say, that they fought in the war and they knew what it was that they needed. So going back and combat and coming back to the states of where you are, where they were at that time to build something for their people in the church, for say. What else did our black people need? The women in leadership need to be need to have something of their own for our people. It shouldn't be a fighting battle for a woman to have a leadership role. I don't think it's a problem with that. I don't feel that it is. I believe this Constitution and the way and the year that it got ratified to add some things in those spaces is that white women's suffrage wasn't alone. That black women are lined up with the women's suffrage because they wanted the things for their people in their community. We cannot talk about what white women wanted because whatever it is that they were trying to have say a thing for them to say to come out of their home or to be homemakers inside of their home doesn't mean that black women wasn't either. But when we talk about in the leadership roles in corporate offices or organizations, you got to give the women the credit if they give you this ideal, or you got to give the women the credit if they have this marketing tool that's much stronger than yours. No matter if you had the funds, no matter if you had the status to put her um on the backside, but to put you a little further is a reason that sometimes I believe corporations have their say over women in leadership because they may have they're the ones who's making the money, or they are the ones who had the stock, or their income level may be a little bit higher in some sense. But today, 2023, we shouldn't I don't feel we should be having a discussion to say that is in a women can't be in leadership, or whatever discussion may go. It just seems like it should be a balance somewhere, so therefore everyone can have that role or that place to say. We should be able to have a place to run, and we are leaders no matter how it is said, because we do part of organization. So therefore, we may have a good idea, and someone just need to be able to give you the credit, give the woman the credit. Whatever the discussion is about women in leadership, I say just go ahead and allow the women to be able to have to say for women in leadership. Um, I am going to talk about this one person because I'm talking about women's suffrage and the women's suffrage movement right now. And the if you want to be able to follow what I'm saying, you can go to www.history.com, and it's the topics about women history and women's suffrage. So the abolitionist, I'm just going to mention name is Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and she was an abolitionist. She was a part of the human rights. She was a human rights activist, and as a state, she was one of the first leaders of the women's rights movement. And it says that she was the brains behind Anthony Brain for over 50 years to win the women's right to vote. And I wanted to point that out because that's a start of how we get into these spaces and what it means to others to be able to have women that come along to make what it is that what it is that women want to have and what it is that they're doing to have what is whole for them. And you can look her up, and as I stated, where I'm reading this information from. And I'll go to the women's suffrage movement, and they talk about the divide. As I stated that when I was talking about men that were serving in the army, and I specifically talked about our black men who served in the army that wanted to be able to come home, and I also talked about the churches, where those organizations may have begun to start. I'll talk about the Civil War. Right now in Baltimore City, research is being done and about civil wars that may have happened here and there and have to go, and we have to get people to, well, people are doing the research to understand where these things broke out. Right now, if during spring break is maybe coming up, I tell you, don't forget to stop over at Drew Hill Park where you'll see some history of some of those things are popping up. But you take a walk around, read a little bit about the historic places inside of Drew Hill Park, and then you'll be, if you didn't never know, then you'll be able to understand. I'm talking about here in Baltimore, Maryland. All right, I'll go to the 13th Amendment. And this 13th Amendment is states that Women's Loyal National League to encourage Congress to pass the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery. I'm talking about now, and I'm going to go to the 14th Amendment. In 1866, they lobbied against the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment, giving black men the right to vote because of the amendments didn't give the right to vote to women. Those amendments that one after another take place only because of one thing didn't happen, and you understand how if one thing didn't happen, then something else carry on. Lobbied. For me is lobbying is for me is the bidding or the have a say so, or who has the most money to say that I want this and I can buy this because I want this to apply to that. For me, lobbying is not that hard to be able to explain. It's exactly what I just said it is, and it's just as much as that. If we think about now in Baltimore City, we think about BG&E and what's happening down there in the contract that they had and a contract that was given to them to BG&E from Brandon Scott, but say that they didn't have to bid on it; they could just be able to get it. Why is that so? If you have things that are in place, and that's why these things are in place. If that's the case, why we all can't get these contracts when you walk up into this place and you don't need so many people to come onto this contract. You don't have to prove anything. You can just get it. So that's why lobbying to me is not that big of a deal. And as I said, I just wanted to talk about the women leadership roles and how it take place, and that it would not have a big discussion if we stick to what happened and why these things came about for women to be able to work in the spaces that they are in leadership roles. It's not talked about enough to say that they earned these things. They earned these right to have these. They had to fight. And that's why I think we just continue to go around in a circle because we lay back too much. for me, if I could say that I could write every senator, every politician, or every delegate about anything that I had to say, then it for me it looked like I'm a crazy person because I always got something to say about every little thing. But that's just how it could be if it wasn't right for you or us. That's why I like the topic of student engagement after membership that I brought up because I believe it's important. Um, I took a trip down to DC last weekend, and it was a really big schedule, not just for myself, but for my child as well, because they were doing some things down there as well. And it was the start of the cherry blossom visitations of people just coming out to watch this bloom happen. That if you don't see the bloom happen, then for me, I believe you won't even understand why the flowers, why 1 second you see the flowers and you see them close and you see them budding again and something happened. And next thing you know, the flower, everything is green. It's beautiful to see these things happen because it's the way that nature goes about doing what it needs to do to pollinate the spaces inside of it, to pollinate the space that we have in our lives and our walks and everywhere we go to give the earth exactly what it needs. But how busy it was in DC and all these organizations that was there, and the students to see us, so many students that was there, family members that was there. But for us, it was three schools inside of the Morgan State University that had collaborated together and took these students up to the museum, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. I was happy to that we got a chance to get in there. I'm gonna tell you why I was more excited of seeing the students who came along this trip. The bus was packed. The bus was packed. That tell you that they wanted to do it. I had a chance to talk to one of the students that was there, and began to have a conversation. And I don't want to forget that he was an engineering student, and he was talking about him getting up so early in the morning, and he was like, he got up. When he got up, he rushed. It was like, it's so early in the morning. I don't feel like getting up. He said he was so happy to be there and was able to be on this trip because it meant that much to him. He said he would have been so hurt that at 7:30 he would have got to the bus and we would have been gone. He would have been really hurt just because he was dragging himself to get up. And I'm gonna give a kudos to those students for all of them who came out for that trip because when I was on campus, a lot of students would talk about they wish the professors would do a little more of this, a little more of that that they didn't have. They don't feel like they should have to just go over to a certain department that wasn't in their school to be able to engage in the activities that they want to do. So therefore, that when we don't listen to some of the things that students are saying and what it is that they want to do for to make a difference, then we'll do them a disservice, right? So what I feel that the change has happened. The change has happened because the history department, the English department, and elevate facts, y'all. Elevate facts, and that's the word elevate with FACS. Elevate facts. Because facts is doing an amazing job of their changing and what they're doing with students. The awesomest job is that when a professor makes a promise or to stay committed to what they're gonna do, and they see us in our orange and blue, and they shout out to us, and that's all we were getting. And even if we separated in groups, so even if we weren't all together, it was awesome for the students to hear that, oh, y'all brought Morgan State up here. That's something to say. That's awesome. And for them to see, it was, I believe it was 43 of us, to see that many of students that was up there. I'm an alumni of Morgan State University, but for people to continuously giving them kudos to bring that many students out there from a college was awesome. And I'm not saying that that was the biggest that ever been in. I'm saying on that day of March the 25th, that when we were out there, that those students had the feeling of being able to be recognized by the staff that brought, the faculty that brought them there. Shout out to Dr. Garrett for being for getting the tenure for her department, and that is the English department. Shout out to her. That is huge, you all. To be able to have a tenure position. That, you know what that means? That means she there forever, right? And she got passion and she loves to do what it is that she does. So for that, to have those students out there and to get those recognizations from them, to hear those words come out of other people's mouths, that they can say, they was inspired by us just being there in that space. um, and I also wanted to be able to talk about what's going on now. Spring break is about to happen, or college students probably already had their spring break, but for families that's going on spring break, and if you're going on vacation, be safe, be comfortable, relax, let the children have that good time. But my spring break and my family, my daughter's spring break is different weeks. So what that's going to look like? Confusion. It's going to look like confusion because we both I work with children, so I'm in a setting where children have a set time for where they have to go on spring break, and then I have to be with my family. But I had to cut some time out from my schedule because of our schedule differences. But I did find some things to do in Baltimore, and we like to go up the highway a little bit. But we're gonna go skating. We're gonna put on our roller skates and we're gonna go skating because I do love to skate. I want to talk about my brother a little bit. Um, when I when I am finished airing, sometimes I take a clip and I put it online, and he say, "What you smiling? What you smiling so hard for?" And I told him, well, that's my comfortable place. That's what I like to do. But it is. And it's just because, as I say, that I learned that. I learned to do what's comfortable for you, then you do it. But I'm not mad all the time either. And I'm not upset. And nobody is not going to make me out to be the black angry woman if I want to spill out some topics and I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about women's suffrage. I believe I wanted to talk about that because is always a topic that I want to say why it's so hard for us to understand that part. I don't know. I don't know why it's so hard for us to be able to talk about it. I don't know why people have a problem with women in leadership roles. I don't I don't understand it. It can be a problem because of, I would think, because it's religion. Then it can be a problem because someone didn't have, if it's women talking about women who need to tell women to be quiet, then women have a problem with other women because why? If it's men telling women that they shouldn't have a leadership role because of it makes them look masculine, then why? If it's in between to say that, I just think women don't have enough to be in a leadership role because it just come off a little different. Males see it a little bit, wrong or have that say. Have your say, right? But understand that women leadership roles it is important because you can get them women to stand up for you. And you can protect them women once you see that they are out there doing it and not overstepping your bound or overstepping their boundaries and not crossing your boundaries, just doing something to be able to get it done. And we say that if you say that women have these attitudes and they react like this, they don't want to be quiet, they talk over you. All right, because we do sometimes talk because we want to have our say and get our point across. Because we want you, as women that does this, I would say, I want you to hear my points, but I want you to understand what it is I have to say. I see this in young girls, young women that I get to see them go back and forth and talking over each other because they want to have that say. Don't say that we just want to be like that to be like that. Nope. Here it is. We are like that because it's a gene in us. It's no way that 2023 you still have these young women out here having their say. It's not, you cannot say that she is like that because she's born from her mother. I love 2-year olds. 2-year olds are learning what it is they want to do. They are learning if they're going to deal with it, finish it, leave it alone, or come back to it. I say it because we can see it in us a little bit. And I'm not saying we're two. I'm just saying that when it is something that we as people want to be able to do, is either we finish it, we leave it alone, we go back to it, or we never complete it. It's a reason why. Let us, those women, us women, and those women who want to be in them leadership roles, let them have it. The women that I've met that are in leadership roles, they are able to be in that role because they earned that. They are able to be in that role because they can build up, they can collab, they are always feeding or giving back to what it is that they learn. When you see them doing that, support them, encourage them, open a door and a way for them. Because if you need them for your support, then let it be that. I am going to sum this topic up and I'm going to sum this platform up to say that support the students for what it is that they are doing. Let them have some roles it is for them to play. So therefore, they can be able to lead the way of where it is they're going, to collaborate, to unify together, to understand what it is that they are doing. So therefore, they can be able to build on that side. And if it is that something they need to make a contribution to, don't say that they're not out here doing it, because women are out here contributing to what it is that they see, or they see that is suitable for the cause, or they see that suit fit to something to produce. Shout out to Fun Day, to B360. this weekend, I'm telling you, it was so awesome. The only thing the children had a problem with was standing in line to be able to get a ride on the dirt bikes. Out there at B360 Fun Day, it was very nice. And my daughter and her internship organization, the Zendaya family, was out there and she supported them, and they support the children that they brought out there that day. And they're doing banana bread as well. So support them, support the youth, and every event that's out here for the youth that is positive. Get out there and support them. Even when your community doesn't know what's going on, stay abreast to what's going on. Find out what's in your community. Find out the reason why these things are in the community, and find out why these people are supporting these youth events and activities. It's important for these youth to be able to have something to do, for them to be engaged, for them to understand all the way down to the safety part of it. What they were doing out there was displaying safety first. And it was important for them to display safety first. And sometimes when we see the dirt bikes out here, we see that we could say that it's unsafe. But I'm a Baltimorean, so I know what dirt bikes is for me, and I love to see them. And I won't say that I'm part of the encouraging to say that no, they shouldn't be doing that because they're not riding safe. I say it's a thrill to them, and what it is that they are doing is riding and teaching. And Brittany is teaching the STEM of this and their whole organization of change. I think it's change for life, the number 4 for life, and I just want to be able to express that. Keep the students engaged, whatever it is that they choose to do, to understand that what it is that takes the role in the safety to being able to have a role, to have a say, to understand what organizing is, and to know that the social movement is just as important as any part of any other membership, because you got to learn the way in order to be able to continue to go. And thank you again for this Wednesday as well. And you have a great day.